Hello, this is National Chessmaster Rats at chess.com, continuing my video series on the correspondence team match played between my video lessons group and CARPE DIEM. This was played on board 167, mid 1600s versus low 1500s. Our man is Growling Tiger 077. Well, I hope you've been watching the videos in this series, Growling Tiger, because I'm going to let you have it just like I'm letting everyone else have it. You guys have learned a bad strategy, moving your rook pawns unprovoked. Okay, it's bad. Watch all the videos. You'll find out all the reasons. You're wasting time. You're not developing your pieces. You're creating weaknesses that are coming back and biting people. Your opponent is just as guilty as you are. Let's see what happens. Okay, d3, bad move. It's safe and solid, but he's limiting the mobility of this bishop. Okay, everything's fine. And then kind of a King's Indian attack style, so to speak, for White. Depends where he puts his bishop, but watch what he does. h3. What was Black going to put on g4? Nothing. This bishop can't move. This knight would be attacking by itself. Nothing else is hitting f2. Black can't generate an attack against f2. This places the pawn on the same color as this bishop. You're limiting this. White's limiting the scope of this bishop. Okay, so end of rant. Let's go on. f5. Now here's one of those situations. Black is going to play h6. Watch, you'll see what I'm saying. I've done this illustration many times. Okay, it's now Black's move. Let's look at the position before White played knight g5. Let's just click back and watch how the White position changes. Clicking back. Oh, it didn't. Let's look at that again. Let's bring it back. This is the position now with Black to move. This is the position with White to move. And this is a comparison I like to give because I'm trying to help you folks eliminate this mistake. Knight g5 does White absolutely nothing. Okay, and Black is fine. This is a case where he can move his rook pawn, but in effect, what White is saying is, it's my move, okay? But you know what, Black? I don't want to move. So I'm going to make a deal with you. I'm going to give you 2 moves in a row as long as your first one is h6. Okay? That's the deal White's making with his move. Knight g5, here comes h6, and now it's Black's turn instead of White's turn in this other position. Let's go back and look at it again. I have to sneeze. God, why do I always sneeze in my videos? I just can't help it. It'll come later. Just castle, okay? Just castle. Another thing about this h3. Since this pawn was on c3, it's covering d4. Another annoying thing about having a bishop on g4, which Black wasn't even threatening to do. White had no reason to play h3. But let's get back to the game because I wanted to bring that up. Oops, went a little too far. So f4. And now Black's starting his kingside attack. Now here, a nice safe move would have been king h7. Okay, the reason for that is now Black actually has a threat. Let's burn a move. And here's the threat. Okay? Yeah, you can take this, but watch. Chop. Okay. Now, what does Black want to do? Take the bishop? No, you lose the rook with check. Let's go ahead and take this. And he needs to take this knight. And Black's king's a little frisky, but Black has bagged a pawn. Okay. So that was what Black was threatening, because White's just not following a careful strategy here. Black's move is okay. But now I think maybe Black was a little hasty in ridding that knight from the board. It's true it weakens the pawn on f5, but let him take this bishop. What's this bishop going to do for you? Nothing. Look, see these pawns? It's one drawback with some of these variations of a King's Indian defense type system. That bishop just becomes entombed. Let him take it. That knight will be a busy little creature. It's been running all over the board. Let's see, it went to f3 to g5, back to f3 to h4 to f5. Let it take a piece's move once, okay? develop something. You can even play bishop e6 and plan queen d7 and try to win the pawn and maybe force him to take on g7. Okay, you do okay with it, but here we go. Now there's a pin you got to cover. Well, actually no, the knight's covered, but I think it was wise to get the king out of there so you can use the knight. And now you found a trick, but the problems of this, the way this is going, is kind of self-evident. You know, this is still a bad piece. You'd have been better off without it, because even though you're pawn ahead, your pieces don't have a whole lot of mobility. Okay, that's true. This bishop increased by 1 square, but this knight isn't even developed yet. Okay, and White's got a good square for his knight. Now White's light squared bishop isn't much fun either, but White's surviving this. And now let's see. Can Black take this pawn? Nah, well, it opens up some light squares for White to use. Might be risky to take that pawn just yet. Kicks the knight back. So here we have a similar situation as before when he plays knight d4. White is saying, or knight c4, White's saying, okay, Black, it's my move, but I don't want to move. I'll give you 2 moves if you'll play d5, the first one. Okay, same thing as before. d5, now back here, and here comes Black's second move. Let's look at this position here and compare it with this position. How did White's position change? It didn't, but Black's position changed by getting the pawn to d5. So here's Black's second move. So Black's picked up all kinds of moves in this game. So White's made that mistake twice. Now here was a good time to take en passant, because now the White king side is getting a little weaker. So take, then pick up this pawn, and now I think Black does quite well here. Actually, Black is ahead 2 pawns. One is a double pawn, but the board's opening up, and this bishop may be able to use the e5 square soon. Black's doing great here. So he didn't take en passant. Played here. And now trying to undermine the pawns. Now you've locked them up, so this bishop is really not doing you much good. How do we solve that bishop? Well, we don't for a while, if at all. Let's see what happens. So that bishop of White's wasn't doing much. Maybe this knight could have been used somewhere. What's a good square for that knight to get to? How about c3? How do we get it to c3? That's one fun thing about knights. They can, in locked positions, they can do all kinds of maneuvering. You can go here, 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 and then there. Yeah, White can prevent that with a timely a4, but it's worth a try. Okay, knight takes, and now trying to get that bishop activated, opening up some lines. White pushes by. Here come the pawns, and suddenly now this dark square bishop is really getting ready to jump loose. D3. If D3 comes in, that bishop is active. Okay, so White regains. I guess Black was never up 2 pawns. White had a majority over here. I didn't count correctly. Pawns are even actually now, but the double pawn kind of negates it. Black's looking pretty good, but he's got to play this accurately. And there may have been some good moves in here for Black, but White missed his way, and it's easy to see how White missed his way here. White's going to drop a piece. Whoops! Here it comes with check, and the game is just about over. Rook takes, and White resigned. There's really no hope here. You can't take the rook because rook takes will lead to a quick mate, and I don't think guarding the rook is going to do much good because you just take it and win more. So, but I was looking at this, and White may be able to generate some play here, and this is where playing correspondence chess can really help your game if you stop and analyze. Let's back this up. What if White takes this? Now, a lot of people would look at that and say, well, I can't take that. That D pawn takes, and that pawn's dangerous. But watch what could happen here. It's still 2 moves from making a queen, and White has some open lines here. Let's go bother this bishop. Okay. All of a sudden, White may be getting some play here. Let's try running the pawn. Okay. Now we'll ignore the bishop for a moment. Let's go after the queen. This says if you make a queen, I'll just take your queen off. So White needs to deal, or Black needs to deal with this queen. Where's he going to put it? Here. Okay, now let's see. Now we make a queen. And all of a sudden, here comes some checks. And if Rook takes, I think White gets a perpetual. Let's see. Even though White has 2 queens on the board, or Black has 2 queens, better not go up. You get checkmated. Whoops. And that leads. That's no good. So this gets a perpetual. There's various ways for White to activate his game. Where are you going to put the king? You want to try this square? Okay. Now let's see. We're down a queen for a knight. Can White do anything here? You can take this rook, but I don't think it's going to work out. Let's see. Maybe I've misplayed this. It seems like White had some possibilities in here. I think he's going to run out of checks here in a minute. Yeah, king back. And then if you check again, I block it with a queen. Let's see. But, it's just some possibilities here. I'm running the pawn first because I think it's the most dangerous plan that White would have to face. But like I say, go attack the queen. And maybe come in here, allow the queen, and then send the queen down here. Now this could get scary here in a hurry. I don't know, maybe Black can sack one of his queens back here. But he better be careful about it. See, maybe White's running from the checks. White's got a lot of pressure here. Because Black has sent everything off to the other side. So anyway, it's good for analysis to sit and look at these things and try to figure them out. And it's easy to get lost 20, 30 minutes looking at this, and then pretty soon it becomes 3 or 4 hours. And boy, do you learn a lot about chess when you stop and analyze this. Okay, so anyway, so much for that game. Let's bring the other one up. And this is one where Growling Tiger was making the rook pawn moves. Let's back it up. No, it's the wrong game. Dang it. Why didn't it load up? Thought I'd loaded it in memory. Okay, let's see. No, it's the same game we just looked at. Okay, 1 second. I'll get it here. Whoops, come back here. There it is. Okay. Select all. PGN. Here we go. Okay. So the English opening. Now this is kind of rare, but it can transpose into the Botvinnik type formation, and here it is. This pawn formation is the Botvinnik formation. And look what Black does. H6. Why? What was White planning to put on G5 that could do any damage? You can't get a bishop to C4 to molest F7. Put a knight there. What's going to back up the knight? The bishop isn't. The queen, well, you can deal with that. Okay, bad move. Black, bad move. And now it's white's turn. A3. Why? What was black planning to put on B4? Nothing. Okay? Absolutely nothing. You need to develop these guys right here. Got to get castled. It took white forever to get castled in this game. He gets an advantage, but his game was always just on the edge of falling apart. You know, we'll see as we go on, because I was always nervous about this white king. But you know, A3, in some cases you're going to do this move later in preparing a break with this, but you don't set these breaks up until both sides have developed their pieces and you see what kind of break you want to play for. Then you go ahead with your A3, because you may not want to do A3 at all. Depending on how your opponent sets up, you may be wanting to attack directly on the king side, especially with him just weakening his king side as he's done. You definitely want to wait and get developed, because every time they develop, you know, or play these moves, develop your pieces. Don't waste time pushing rook pawns, because your opponent's not. There's no way your opponent can do any damage with accessing these squares. There's no way. No way. Okay, and I've saying it over and over because it's happening in just about every other video I'm making. These people are putting their rook pawns up there. It's a self-learned strategy because you're trying to avoid forks on f7 and c7 and or pins on your knights. There's no book written by any reputable author recommending this strategy. It's something you guys, how the internet has changed chess. You know, you didn't learn chess through chess books. You learned chess by playing blitz chess, and you got forked a lot, and you found this strategy to stop it. Well, it does stop it, but you know, again, I'll say it. You know, it's like you're running a 100-yard dash and giving your opponents a 20-yard head start. Okay, you're not going to win too many races. So definitely the plan should be to, since black is weak at his king side, to get your king side developed and consider some way to attack on the king side. So anyway, A3, and look, here it comes, H3. Why? What does this do? What harm can befall you if you let a bishop pin your knight? You know, show me. You can't. So what? Develop something. Okay? This is a square. You're giving up this D4 square with the opening. That's fine. This is understandable. That's one of the things that the Botvinnik system does. But it takes black a while to get a knight there. Usually it's this knight that finds its way to D4, and the path isn't clear yet. He's got a castle, get it to E8, and then here, and finally it gets there. By then you'll have all kinds of remedies. H3 is just a terrible move. It doesn't develop anything. And because of this move, you know, white could have been castled much earlier. We'll see. We'll talk about it when we get there. Okay. Now, where's the king side development? We got to get castled. Now, finally, he's one move away. But right here at move 9, had white not played H3, white could have just castled. Okay? White's not going to castle for another 20 moves. 20 more moves! This is move 9. He doesn't castle till move 29. He could have been castled now. I'm trying to help you guys. I'm not picking on you, okay? You can't make these moves. And now white starts generating play on B5. Okay? And watch what black does. Now, I think white will do well with pawn takes and pawn takes here, and you're going to bag a pawn on E5. Nothing's guarding it. But D5, and watch what black does. He puts his rook back. Oh, my pawn was under attack. I missed. Okay, well, same thing as in the other game. What black is saying is, it's my move here, but I don't want to move. You make two moves, but one of them has to be D4. Okay, And the net result is, after white's 2 moves, watch how black's position has changed. And it hasn't. But white's played d4 and d5. Didn't take on e5 to win the pawn, but he's going to win a pawn anyway. Yep, there it is. And expands on the queen side. Now here, white's jettisoned his bad bishop. That's good. Last time he kept his bad bishop. But now this move doesn't make sense. Okay, you're giving yourself a backward pawn on the open file. You're losing the mobility of these 2 pawns. This could be a useful move later to get a pass pawn. Okay, you're also giving. Whoops, hit the wrong button. You're also giving b5 to your opponent. He couldn't occupy that square before, but he will be able to in the near future. What are you trying to do? Keep a knight out of b6? Well, guess what? He can't put a knight on b6. You take it. Okay, so this basically violates a lot of chess principles. You're trying to get a knight there? Well, okay, fine, but why not castle? let these things sit. And oh, no. By the way, look, black hasn't castled either. Who's going to castle first? Well, black is, and white doesn't castle. But hey, here's one of these drawbacks with this weakness. There might be a sack down here. Probably not yet, but maybe. Now he attacks the pawn, guards it, and hey, thank you for the square. Covers his knight, activates the knight, takes it off, and suddenly white has won a second pawn. Now the bishop starts chasing the queen. This is almost humorous. Attacks the bishop, guards it. Attacks the queen, slides it over. Attacks the bishop, retreats it. Attacks the queen. Instead of attacking the queen, I think that black could have done well with a move like queen c7 or queen c8, attacking a knight over here, and suddenly, this king is starting to look a little shaky because he hasn't castled. But anyway, now he takes it, and he gets his pawn back. White castles, attacks the rook. Finally, white castled, but it was getting scary there. Goes to the 7th rank. The 6th rank was good too. This is fine. And now he chops that off. But here black makes a mistake. What black needed to play was just a simple check. King runs and grab this pawn. Now black's actually caught up in material and his queen is centralized. Yeah, white has a dangerous pass pawn, but black has a pass pawn too. It's anybody's game here. It's hard to say that white has any kind of advantage whatsoever. Now this rook can come to the 7th rank. Black can double rooks. The white king looks more in trouble than the black king here. But, c'est la vie. He didn't do that check. He came back to e7. And here I think the strongest move is to take the a6 pawn. Or push e5. Because this pawn is under duress. But white grabs this pawn. But see, now there's one of the drawbacks with moving your rook pawn. So white's proving to black why it was a mistake to put his pawn on king rook 3. He's lost it. Okay. Now he shuts in the rook, but white has a strong continuation. See, black's self has been weakening his king side. 2 moves that weaken his king side. The first one cost a pawn, and the next one's going to cost him his king. And here comes the pawn entering a square that with tempo, and suddenly white finds a nice sacrifice. Rook takes check, and if pawn takes, it's a quick mate. So black moves his king. However, there's a check here, and then there's one more sly little check that white finds. Rook h7 check, and black resigns because it is immediately a mate. So Black didn't help himself by wasting time moving his pieces. He didn't help himself pushing his rook pawns. White didn't help himself pushing his rook pawns. Uh, it was a it was an interesting game. It was a fair contest, I would say. White made fewer mistakes. White didn't make any major mistakes, just failed to capitalize on a few things. But if you'll just stop moving these rook pawns and develop your pieces, you're going to find your game will improve a lot. Okay, you can't do this and expect to improve much, because the good players, when you play the better players, they're going to pick you clean when you push your rook pawns. Okay, and I thank everyone for watching. I wonder how many more rook pawn dissertations I will have as this series continues. If I can stop these people, if the whole world, from moving their rook pawns, my goodness. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're stuck with it until somebody with authority comes out and says don't do it. But I'm doing my part. Thanks all for watching.